Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast. It's episode 51. It's your boy, HSR.
It's your boy, Chris Chrome.
It's your lady friend, Bonnie.
And before we get into the episode, we're going to do the housekeeping part. So if you want to skip that, feel free. In the description, you can see the whole episode itinerary. And we will start with our favorite comment from last week. And last week, we garnered quite a few requests in the comment section. So we went with this one from The Legend. You guys should review some Scarface albums. The Fix and Diary are excellent albums. Now, oddly enough, both those albums have been requested a few times. So how about this? We're going to do a Scarface album next week. That's been decided. And it's either going to be The Fix or Diary. So in the comments, let us know which of these two you want us to do. And then whichever one gets the most votes by like Wednesday, Thursday, we'll make a decision. And boom, that's the album we do. So you can help us pick between those two since they seem to be equally popular and depending on who's commented their favorite Scarface album.
And we want to do what you want to see.
That's it. On top of that, we do take requests seriously. There is the first version of the request list available in the description of the episode.
Yep.
And
speaking of requests, also the contest.
Yep. So we have the Grind to 1,000 subscribers contest in place. If you subscribe to the channel, you like this video, and you leave a comment about the album, about our review, about something to create a conversation, you enter into a raffle where first place is going to be $100 of Amazon money, plus you can request a review from us, and we'll do it as soon as possible with whomever you want off the channel. Second place will be $50 plus a review, and third place will be $25 plus the review.
Don't forget the reviews also include TV shows, videos, music, and anything else that we have on the channel going so far.
Within reason.
Yeah.
Because 11 seasons of MASH is off the table.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
And don't forget the currencies in USD currency.
Yeah, that's a fun fact. And for every past video that we've done that you go back and watch and you like and you leave a comment on, keeping in mind that as we go back in time, we get more ignorant. You get extra entries into this raffle. Once we break 1,000 subscribers, we'll go live on YouTube with a fully updated comment list, and we will essentially use a random number generator, pick some people, contact those people. You give me the email address, I send you the money. Life is happy. We move on to the next contest.
And the next opportunities.
Yeah, so on that note, why don't we get into this album review? So, Chris, you know what to do, please.
Well, for this week's Classic Quest 51 episode, we went with Nas. It Was Written.
You know why? Because a lot of y'all requested that shit.
Yeah.
Especially
we
because
listen. We read.
Somebody over here may have talked about one of these songs in a little bit of detail.
Yeah.
And you can get that in the corner there.
Go check it out. It's very cool. It's like...
Which song was it? You should let them know.
It was...
I
gave you power. I forgot. I was like, wait, which one was it? It was I Gave You Power. Definitely go check it out. It was a lyrical breakdown. I love doing it. You know, I got to like kind of really dive into the song. So if you liked, if you like Nas or you want to see what I'm doing, so go check it out.
It will definitely be more in detail than we're going to go into in any particular song here. So that's definitely something we're going to do more of on the channel.
Yeah.
But this is actually our second Nas review, so you can check in the corner. We did Illmatic, and a lot of people seem to dig that review, and we're very understanding of good comments like our conversation on who Jake was and things like that. Classic moments.
And like you can watch with us like how much like we've evolved and like watch what we were saying then.
We know what a Jake is now.
Yeah, we know a lot more of like the slang and like what's going on in the culture and everything else. And so like as much as we tried to like inform ourselves at the beginning, you're only going to learn through time and experience and understanding everything. So
like when you helpful folk explained what Jakes were and explained how funny it was to hear that conversation. So if that doesn't entice you, I don't know what else will. But Nas is pretty cool. Yep. I discovered Illmatic was definitely one of the most well put together projects I think I've ever heard. For like the 9 songs, it was pure poetry and bliss and whatnot, and it was definitely really cool. So I guess I'm pretty excited to go into this. Outside of that, I know a few of the Stillmatic hits and a couple of the stuff that popped off when I was in high school. And then I know that Nas did a song with DJ Khaled recently, and he's supposed to have an album. And then, I don't know, I just never heard about him again. I don't know about you in recent times. Have you heard about Nas? No, I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop.
Well, Ellen talks about him from time to time, but I don't know if she I'm sure he must like appear like on her show sometime, but I don't think I've ever seen him on her show, but she talks about him like as being like, oh, Nas, he's such a good guy. He's kind of like the way I talk about him, but she actually knows him, and my life is like imaginary about knowing him.
Right.
But yeah. So, I mean, that's the only reference I know about him in, like, modern times.
Do you like Nas?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm like, I love Nas. And, like, the more I listen to him, the more songs kind of, like, come back. And I'm like, oh, I've heard this before. Like songs I would never have thought I didn't know anything of Nas. And then I listen to it, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I do know, like, some of his stuff. So I think that's kind of cool.
And you?
I haven't heard anything about Nas recently. I mean, I listened to Nas growing up. We covered this on our last review as well when we did this. But
those people who will come
no,
here
of course,
might not have heard that.
I'm just saying we've also done this. If you want to check that out too, you can go there.
We already did that part 2.
But I like Nas. I've always had this comfortable feeling that knowing that when Nas is on the track, there's some real shit that's about to be said. So I've always known that, like, if I want something lyrical and have this kind of, like, gangster-esque feel,
you kind of know what to expect from him because it's always going to be, like, good quality. It's going to be, like, thoughtful. It's going to have, like, but it's still going to have, like, that street point of view and, like, what's going on in, like, the hood, kind of. Like, right. I mean, again, that's me not listening to, like, any of his more modern stuff, but like that's the feeling that I'm getting from that he gives off.
I mean, at some point we'll have reviewed more of his albums, and then we can know.
We can know.
But, what do you guys think of the album cover?
As I understand it, they were not very happy with Mr. Wallace and his Ready to Die album cover, so now he's full-grown Nas back with a very similar album cover to Illmatic.
Yeah.
Reminding you that this was his idea in the first place, unless I'm misreading the situation.
Well, I just think it's like just, him, like obviously like, he was a baby and like that was the beginning and this is like kind of like his journey. So join him like in his current time, like this is who he is now. Like he's not just like a beginning, like obviously the last one he was a baby and he was kind of like the beginning of his like career and like his career in music and in like gangsterism. So yeah, and so now this is who he is. He's kind of like, I'm a man now. So I guess.
Yeah, no, I definitely got the I'm a man feel, but I
didn't think of Biggie or anything like that.
I've just, while looking into the album a little bit, everybody involved in the project, like there was this interviewer complex where it kind of interviewed the various key members involved, and they all managed to bring up Biggie, but Nas. Like, everybody but Nas had brought up the fact that Biggie, like, had jacked the title and that this was jacked the cover and this was somewhat in reference to it. Nas didn't actually have anything on the record saying that, but, like, everyone around him seemed to. That's where I got that from, but it would seem like a wise move. Like, this came out not long after Ready to Die, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, July 2nd, 1996, and I think, I can't remember when it came out, but, 1996 sounds about right.
And yeah, so, I mean, it was cool. I like the cover. I think it kind of gives you a sense of, like, follow-up. Like, this is the part 2 of Illmatic, you know? And so that's pretty cool. And I love the name It Was Written because it's so biblical. It's so scripture-like, you know?
Well, I felt the same way about the title. Instantly with the album cover, I was like, okay, this is part 2. Well, it's a follow-up, like we said, to Illmatic. But the title itself, It Was Written, I got more of this heavy message feel from it. Like, there is going to be a lot of things that we can take away from this album is what I'm getting from the title already.
Man, religious scripts are just covered with It Was Written.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, like, I just get, like, the It Was Written as meaning, like a prophecy, kind of, It's, like, something that's, like, it's going to happen. And, like, it was written before, any of the events took place. And so it's just kind of like, this is what's going to happen,
I do. So, y'all, why don't you let us know how you feel about the Nas cover, if you know anything about the Biggie part, or fill us in there if we missed anything, or you have some key facts. On that note, let's talk about the album intro.
All right.
See what they done did to Jimmy Lee? Damn, man.
All right, Chris, start us off.
So, first off, what I like to call, we got a Disney intro.
I felt that too.
Right? It's this like little
birds and
if you've ever seen any Disney movie, that moment where they're doing the whole grand Disney castle and the whole thing, that sound where they're flying over the water, that sound, that was right there.
Okay.
And then we jump right into this Western world, and I feel like Nas is portraying the slave era where all the black people were enslaved and had to do a bunch of stuff, and you've got sounds of horses in the background, chariots in the background.
No, that's a
Chariots?
dude getting whipped, Chris.
I heard
There's a definite whip. There's no chariot.
No. Let us be clear.
There was a person getting
slave
whipped.
owner whipping a slave.
Oh, okay.
In the background.
Well, anyway.
Okay.
And you hear the guy screaming. He's constantly screaming.
Well, yes, but I on top of that, I just felt I was like, it just
it's
gave me
definitely
this
not a chariot.
this Western feel. Anyway,
It's definitely a southern slavery feel.
Yes.
You know how I know? Because there's a quote that I wrote down that one of the guys said, Nas wanted to portray this whole symbolism of being taken out of handcuffs and being set free, so to speak. So we were taking the NWA approach with the interludes and all the sound effects and theatrics and whatnot. So I felt like he was actually in the situation of being a slave taken,
Yes.
Anyway, go on, please.
I like when Nas says, Harriet done left the night before. It's time we go. Ain't no place for a black folk here. Man, promised land's calling me, man. And it's right after that, you get this sense, and Nas is like kind of rebelling against his slave owner, and he starts like beating him up, and it's getting all like rowdy. And I feel like I took two things away. One, there is this sense of hope and pride and happiness and wanting to be in a better place. But two, knowing that what follows after when Nas becomes rebellious and starts beating up the slave owner, and they're all like shouting that there's going to be a hanging tonight, and they're kind of praising that. I feel like Nas knew that, and I feel like Nas is also kind of saying like the promised land is like heaven, is like just a different place. He'd rather be dead than have to be a slave. That's kind of how I took from it. And then, like I said, they follow up with Nas being rebellious. He starts beating up the slave owner, and then you have a bunch of people shouting that there's going to be a hanging tonight, and they're all like getting riled up and ready to go because, of course, something went down.
Well, Nas has escaped.
Yeah.
Right?
Hold on.
I didn't get that Nas has escaped. I got Nas was like he got up and he started beating him. He's like, "You're not my master no more." He
got out and then he runs off.
I didn't understood he ran off. I thought that was like part of the whole story. Like,
and then he starts rapping because he's now escaped in a metaphor, and he's comes in and raps. Unless I missed something.
Okay, maybe I took away something totally different.
Right after that, it jumps to 1996, and it's just Nas and AZ talking back and forth, and then Nas goes and
like I do agree that the guy was saying like the hanging part was a real thing. But I think that's just what they were gonna say because they were in my head. They were about to go chase after him while Nas was on the run.
Okay,
that's
I see that.
I pictured.
I see that.
Because your version is they've caught him. In my head, that sounded like they were about to go get him. They hadn't caught him yet.
Fair enough. Okay,
anyway,
I see
go
that.
on, Bunny.
Yeah. So I mean, like it's obviously slave times. He's in chains. He wants to break free. Like he. And like it's sort of like soft music. It's like a jazzy music. So again, like I think it's very like inspired by his father. He was a jazz musician. And so I think that like the guy saying like, oh, there's going to be a hanging tonight. I think it is talking about Nas. Like Nas is going to be the one that gets hanged.
Yes.
Because, everything that I was seeing was like disobedient slaves and like people who run off and like try to like escape. And when they're caught, they're made an example of, and they get hung. And so it keeps like everybody like from rising up. And I think that, going to jail is equivalent to kind of like being a slave, and you're kept from rising up and you're being put away and like your voice is shut down every time. And I think that was the kind of message that was going on. So yeah, for me, like that was it. I was just the message, like at the end, like it was kind of quiet under the music. So like that was something that I kind of had an issue with. Like it was kind of like hard to like hear, I guess, like them, like the discussion and everything. But But I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good message. I don't know if I would go back to it time and time again, but I gave it a 3.5 just to start it off with.
That's fair. I mean, the first half is that little skit thing, and he has a whole like verse where he's back in 1996.
Yeah, and he's talking about like the Quran and everything as well.
Yeah, he's like, I love how he ends it. He's like, yo, no doubt. In the Quran, it says, Nas, the man, Nisas, the women, you know, it was written.
Yeah.
Boom. That might be one of the best ends to any intro we've encountered so far. But really, my favorite noteworthy thing is this no homo moment he has before no homo was a thing. I thought that was funny. 1996, back up in this brother, the right way though, you know? Get it? Because the wrong way is up the backside of another man, is what he's trying to imply he was not doing, because his wording may be taken the wrong way, which is, I've always found a strange thing when men do that insecure stuff. It says something about you. That's all I got to say, you know? They're discussing kind of how fake everyone is. Nas and AZ are kind of going a little back and forth here. And my favorite line beyond that no homo line is the part where Nas is like, everyone's a 54 card deck with the jokers, but I'm like a 52 card deck.
That's
Or AZ might have said that. Whatever.
AZ, yeah.
That was an amazing line. I mean, just the idea of like, 52 card deck is like a freaking idea of a slang term that anything done eloquently can become meaning of something.
Yep.
I really appreciated that. I give this a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was definitely one of the most perfect intros for this project that could have existed. Like, you got me hyped up, excited, curious. Like, you got a sense of like a little bit of time's passed from Illmatic. A little bit of things has happened, and you kind of even get a sense of his frustration right off the jump.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you give it?
Well, I gave it a 3.5 as well. I like what he did with this song. I like what he did with this intro. It's just, it's not something I'm going to be going back to it unless I'm ready to listen to the entire album full length.
But
Okay.
it's an album intro. That's its only role in life.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I always rate them as album intros when they're intros. Anyway, that's the message I'm trying to convey, motherfucker.
Woo.
Freak niggas played out, get fucked and ate out. Prostitute turned bitch, I got the gauge out.
Off the bat, the flow is on point. I wanted to make that very clear.
It's on point, folks.
We've got that Nas feel, and it's just swell to listen to. The guitar and the beat is nice. I like the build up. The drums were okay. They weren't super on point, I found, but they're not bad. I did also though feel that because the guitar is so defined in the song, I felt like it overpowered the song a little bit just with his vocals, that the strings were just consistently there. Anyway, I got this song was about the fame life while still being in the streets. Nas is starting to become a little bit successful. Things are happening to him, but he's still seeing like the pain and the stuff that's happening around him. So he's trying to deal with both. I like one line where he went, diamonds, I flaunt it, chicken heads flock, I lace them, fried, broiled with basil, taste them, crack the legs way out.
I know what we're having for supper.
Formation. It's horizontal, how I have fucking me in the Benz wagon. And essentially people are sleeping with him because he's got diamonds and he's flaunting it. And it's still that mentality. I feel like he's expressing like when you start to make it, things start to change. Things that you've wanted before are now happening, and it's not that people really give a shit. They're just doing it because of what you have. It's all the material you have is changing them.
Right.
I found out Nas gets shot. He gets shot because he ran up on somebody that owed him money, and then things went wrong.
As they tend to.
There's Nas explaining a situation that's going on, dealing with what he's dealing with.
He actually got shot, or
Well,
he
gets shot in the leg.
allegorically gets shot in this song?
In this song, I'm not. Well, I don't know. The annotation said Nas got shot, so I'm not saying like I don't know if Nas really got shot in the leg, but he does
or if it's
describe.
just a story.
Because
Like-
one of the things is, as I understand, Nas is around the guys who do this stuff and telling their story through his song. So I just wanted to ask if you knew if he had actually been shot.
I would like to think that it's more for the song purpose.
Okay,
I
cool.
don't think
Alright,
it's
that's all.
really Nas. I like I like another line where he goes, I peeped you frontin'. I was in the Jeep, sunk in the seat, tinted with heat, beats bumping across the street. You was wildin', talking about how you ran the island in '89. And clearly, Nas is also showing his loyalty to his city and to who his connections are and who he knows. Yeah. And he's not going to be fucking with anybody who thinks that they've been running shit when he's been running shit. And he knows where he stands and he knows where his place on the ladder is.
Yep.
All in all, I really like this song. I think it was really great to listen to. It's something I will be going back to. 405.
Very cool. Yeah. So apparently, this song was aimed at Biggie, but Tupac also thought that it was about him, or just thought it was about him, but it wasn't. It was more about Biggie.
I could see where Pac got that from.
And like, Biggie and Nas were like pals. You know, before, like, you know, they both kind of, like, rised up. And I think, like, Biggie rised up first, right? So I think that
he just... the album cover thing.
Yeah. And, like, so we think that this could just be a little bit about Biggie. So, you know, we're just kind of getting another look at the life in Queensbridge. And then just, like, how and, like, where, like, all, like, these mobsters and gangsters live. And, like, just sort of, like, how quickly... like in like that sort of area and like being exposed to like those sort of things, like that street life, like how quickly someone can become like a thug or like, you know, like, you know, starting committing crimes. And like how everybody's like trying to be like the top dog. Everyone's trying to be like the top rapper and the top criminal. And like, you know, not all these people can't all be on the top. Like someone's got to fall, right? And so that's kind of like what it is. And like rap, like being a rapper is supposed to like get you out of the hood and not like make you more involved in like all of like the shenanigans and whatever that are taking place in the hood, you know, like it should help you escape, you know, it shouldn't get you. So it doesn't make it easier. And like he just says that you can't really sleep in the hood because it's always dangerous, and don't mess with him because he's like really smart and he's really dangerous. And it's just sort of about like his message is just sort of for Black people to keep surviving and like, you know, like get through it and get through this and like escape, like don't like get more involved into it. And yeah, Nas does get shot in the leg. And like one of his friends takes his gun so the cops don't like find him with a gun. And that's it, I guess, you know, like it's just sort of him. Yeah, the whole story is supposed to be about Biggie, and it just kind of shows like, you know, like how much your friends can change. I guess I think that's it. But I thought it was a cool story. It was it felt like real life. I give it a 4.5 on 5.
I don't know if it was like exclusively about Biggie too, because I think it's a little bit commentating on the scene. By the way, the Pac line is because he just starts off with fake thug. Like literally, that's the first like verse it comes in. So I can see how Pac might get offended by that at the time. But what I got, because if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, in '96 when this is happening, you have the rise of what we call the studio gangster, where you have the people who are not living the life, who are like coming into the studio
and all claim to be the top dog,
and you know, glorifying how they're all the real guys. Whereas somebody like Nas, he openly admits he wasn't necessarily one of those guys, but he was around them and involved in it and completely like. I think at this point in his life, he's like 1 foot in the streets and like 1 foot in the, you know, the game.
Yeah.
So like for him, he's on the more keep it real perspective. And I think that's part of like the motif I saw this whole song in when I went through it a little bit. But before we even talk about the words or anything, I know Chris commented on that guitar, but I have to say the production on this album was surprisingly interesting to me. At first hand, I didn't like it. The first time I listened to the album, I thought it was like a giant mess of like the same song, and it was not pleasurable. But the more I listened to them, I realized that these songs are really groove driven. Kind of like the way Jay Dilla's stuff kind of creates a groove, and you get like sucked into that bass loop that just kind of flows. And, like, cause you can almost take any one of these songs and loop it for like an hour, and you don't really get tired of the beat. I don't necessarily love all the beats, but the fact
they're all well made.
But like,
and like with real instruments.
But like the fact that they're composed in such a way where they can be this bass repetition that never gets annoying, that's really impressive. So like that guitar thing, after a while, like just blends into this beautiful sound that like it really just flows. Like every time you hear it, it's like you like the beat a little bit more. So I think that's just an interesting note I found on many of these tracks. Some of them I didn't like as much, but many of them, the more I heard it, the more I liked it. But lyrically, it's really strong. I mean, you expect that, but
Yeah.
I mean, just the way like it starts with fake thug, no love. You get the slug, CB4 Gusto, your luck low. That's amazing. CB4 is a good movie. I think we should talk about CB4 one day. I didn't know till I was drunk, though. You freak, played out, get fucked and ate out. Prostitute turned bitch. I got the gauge out. I love that. I love the way he, like, played that up. Like, this person, Biggie, whoever he's talking about. I didn't read that about. I didn't look in that deep, so I don't want to say it myself. But just the idea of how he, like, plays the wordplay on, like, you know, the girl, you're so freaky, eating together, girl, you know, but prostitute, blah, 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 in the next line. I love that shit. I love the way he can lace it together with this smooth aggression. Like, he really sounds like a guy who dresses in a suit and has a cigar in his mouth all the time, you know? Like, he just sounds like that guy, you know? Or grab your gun, it's on though, shit is grimy, real fucking broad daylight, while the broke Mac that won't spray right, don't give a fuck who they hit as long as the drama's lit. Yo, overnight thugs bug cause they ain't promised shit. Hungry ass hooligans stay on that piranha shit. And you just like you can just see he can tell the difference, and he's like, I come from a place where people do atrocious things. This is
But
what
it's because they have to, a lot of them.
And you guys are just talking about anyway. You guys get the point of it. I mean, really, you can go through this track and there isn't really a lot of bars that aren't quotable, in my opinion. I wrote down
there's a lot of references.
Like, I wrote down a lot more notes than that, but I think it would just be boring if I read my favorite lyrics, which is too many on this song. It's really well done. I gave it a 4.5 on 5, and it's mostly because as much as I admire the beat, it's totally not in the realm of music I truly enjoy. This is stuff I appreciate, not really like. So I love what Nas does on it, but I'm so rarely in a mood to want to listen to the sound created on this album while appreciating what it is. However, I've discovered that the more I hear stuff like this, the more I like it. So maybe in a couple of years, I will really, really love the sound of this album even more. Anyway.
Okay.
Street dreams are made of these, and who am I to disagree?
Dollars and cents, a fugitive with 2 attempts. Jakes had no trace of the face. Now they drew a
Street dreams are made of these. Who am I? Did you not hear that?
No.
I did.
No.
I did. That was right off the bat.
Well, and the 7 seas. Everybody's looking for something. Bonnie's like, shut the fuck up.
So, Street Dreams is a really cool song in terms of how it started. It was a nice little twist from, I don't even know who sings that song.
I know, but you guys know what song it is.
Right?
It's euphonic. No, it's not euphonics. It's something with an EU.
It is. I think it is that, actually.
Euphonics?
Yes.
Is that the right thing?
But it's also Marilyn Manson. I just wanted to say that. Go on.
Right, I've heard the Marilyn Manson version as well. Anyway, the song itself, for me, is nothing really special. It feels like the radio song of that era for me. The hook,
that video.
The video as well. The hook is catchy. Street dreams are made of these. Push beamers and 300Es. A drug dealer's destiny is reaching a key. They're talking about drugs. They're talking about getting cocaine and having the most amount of cocaine to have that most amount of money to flip it and get all that.
And get a car. That's what the key is.
No, the key is in reference to cocaine.
Yeah.
Like
it could also just be.
Like the key is referenced.
Yes, I know that.
I get this sense that Nas is on the run, or at least he's explaining about somebody who's on the run. I get a little bit this feel that they're kind of making these actions based from what they see or what they're kind of seeing from other rap songs or other rap music videos that were happening at the time. A line that I like, another line was dollars and cents, a fugitive with 2 attempts.
Jakes had no
trace.
Now they drew a print. Though I'm innocent till proven guilty, I'm going to
Take it.
try to get filthy, purchase a club and start up a realty. For real, G, I'm going to fulfill my dream. I don't know if you want me to keep going. That's all
No, it's okay.
I like that. I like that. My thing hid the J from Jakes.
It's okay.
Anyway, I like that line. That was really cool. Nobody could see him. I stopped at they draw a print. Reason being is because they don't see his face. They don't know who he is. He's kind of ghosting around. That was pretty awesome. Another line was 2 sips from being an alcoholic, 999 though from being rich, but now I'm all for it. And I like how he expresses and explains this like, I could have went down a wrong path, but I've switched, and now I know what I'm on. I know what my goals are. I know which way I want to go, and it's kind of like really that easy. The decisions that can lead you down wrong paths. That was great.
Yeah.
Lyrically, the song is dope. I just felt it lacked a little bit of energy. I guess he was trying to be serious on this track, but I don't know. I felt it was more like a dancey type song, an upbeat type song, and I didn't feel there was that much energy in this. But I did give the song a 4, though. It's not.
Okay.
That's fair.
It's not horrible.
So, for me, like it was at first like he's driving to like Delaware because like he doesn't have like police on his ass there, and like he's not known there like as like a troublemaker or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like selling drugs, and he's able to like go somewhere that's like a bit of an escape for him, because he has apparently 2 strikes on his record, and I don't know if it's still like that. But there was like the 3-strike rule, and if like you did the same like sort of thing like 3 times, I think you went to jail for like life.
I think it said if you caught 2 charges, regardless of what your 3rd charge was, you go to jail for life.
Yeah, and that was like a crazy rule. I don't think it's still in place.
I think some states still have it.
Yeah, it might still somewhere be. So he's like kind of rich in the hood, and he's selling drugs, and he's making money. And just because he raps doesn't mean he's gonna leave the hood, and I think that's it. Like, you assume that most people would, but he stays there because he's gonna make more money like on the streets too. But it's also quite dangerous. Mm-hmm. Again, the same thing like about him like almost nearly being an alcoholic. Like,
right.
he didn't take that like step in his life. He kind of jokes about like how he skipped school to get drunk, and like has still like made it, and like I think that's kind of saying something. So dreams in the hood are like just about like getting rich, and like you have to commit crimes to like get rich, and like that's your only way that you can make money and like aspire to be like all these other like thugs and whatever, like criminals. And so for me, it kind of reminded me of Kanye West's song "We Don't Care." Mm-hmm. And like the kids are drug dealing to just make it in the ghetto, and I think that that's like the same sort of thing that they're both saying. So yeah, I just think it's just like how kids choose street life and like how appealing it can become, and why they do it. So I gave it a 4 on 5 as well.
Yeah, I mean, so this beat again grew on me. At first, I really didn't dig this track. I thought it was a little silly. Mm-hmm. Then I really like it. The more I listened to it again, the more it kind of like picked up on me, and I found myself being like, "Street dreams I made," and I was like, "Man, I can't even believe it." I really like the chorus. The second half, the other part that Chris didn't quote. Street dreams are made of these shorties on their knees with big cheese. Who am I to disagree? Everybody's looking for something. And I kind of like, you really get the sense between the 2 halves of this chorus that this is really just the street reality. The guys with the money get this kind of situation set up for them. I do like the song a little bit less. It just kind of like doesn't necessarily feel quite like it really fits the message of what he was trying to necessarily convey. It does feel a little more like a studio jam.
Okay.
And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It just felt a little bit weird. I mean, the rapping is great. Like, there's so many good lines. Like what Chris quoted was cool, or God's sake, what I got to do, make $500,000 without the FBI catching feelings. I really like that.
Yeah.
It's freaking great. I knew the dopes, the pushers, the addicts, everybody cut out the class just to smoke blunts and drink naughty. Ain't that funny? Getting put on to crack money with all the gunplay, painting the kettle black hungry. A case of beers in the staircase of wasted years. Some went for theirs, flipping coke as their career. And like, it is kind of like describing everything you're saying, but I suppose when I hear a song like this, I really realize how little I can relate to this song. And whereas something like The Message, I felt it was a little bit easier for me to connect with what he was trying to say, even if I didn't live that life. This one is really like, I didn't live that life at all, so I don't fully enjoy it.
Okay.
Whereas I could see how other people, this might actually be like the banger freaking anthem. You know what I mean? And if you guys feel that track, I'd love to hear in the comments about your experiences with it, and if you feel like the life living it really makes a difference in your enjoyment of this track. So I give it a 4.1 because I know it's better than a 4, but I can't in good conscience give it like a super high mark. But I know it, so it's a 4.1. It's a pretty decent track. Like, I would listen to it again, but I wouldn't seek it out. Whereas the message kind of, we didn't even mention it. The message freaking samples New York State of Mind. Because speaking of, the message kind of has that crazy, enticing, like New York State of Mind feel. Whereas Street Dreams kind of feels like something I'd throw on at a party, but would feel weird at the same time, you know?
Fair enough.
Anyway, Nas wrote I Gave You Power. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Yes, let's.
That's why they keep me concealed under car seats. They sneak me in clubs, been in the hands.
So Bonnie did a whole breakdown.
A whole breakdown.
So she'll talk after Chris and I and just fill in the parts that we fucked up.
So in the intro, I have Nas is expressing what he feels the music industry is kind of acting like. People are just using him for his talent, don't really care how he feels. They're just telling him to go onto this track, onto that track. But then I get slapped with reality and realize it's not about the music industry. It's an entire song that speaks on the perspective of what guns would feel or think or how they perceive things in being used.
Well, it's a particular gun story.
It's one gun, yeah.
Well, it's
Anyway.
I thought it was 3 different guns.
No,
okay.
It's definitely the one gun.
But yes. I like how he's relating. The concept of guns giving people power. Once you have a firearm, you start to think differently. You start to act differently. You think you have more ability because you could take a life or whatever that it comes with the responsibility of having a gun. I like when he goes, I seen some cold nights and bloody days. They grab me and bullets spray. They use me wrong, so I sing song till this day. My blood is cold. My body is cold steel for real. I was made to kill. That's why they keep me concealed. Woo. And that's when I first realized, like, okay, we're talking about a gun. This is insane.
Yep.
I like another line. Tired of murdering, made him want to be a plain gun. But yo, I had some other plans. Like the next time the beef is on, I make myself jam right in my owner's hand. I get the sense that and that was near the third verse.
That was the end of the second verse.
Right, that was the end of the second verse. And we're starting to see that, like, the gun itself is starting to want to be better, not have to take away so many lives, not have to feel... you're getting the sense that the gun is getting some sort of pain from what it's being used for.
Yeah.
I like another line. He placed me on his waist the moment I've been waiting. My creation was for black to kill blacks. It's gats like me that accidentally go off making memories. And they're touching upon how, like, guns were dropped into the ghettos, dropped into the hood. That they were there for black people, to kill black people and kind of salt out, figure out whatever the hell they're going to do by themselves. And it's like, to even touch upon how the fact that some of these guns were designed to accidentally go off is just, it's like another kind of just insight of how this is all systematically kind of just done and played around. Like, there's no need for a gun to be going off accidentally. That's why we have safety regulations, right? So it's just things to think about. And then I like the last, and this is in the third verse, the end of the third verse. My owner fell to the floor. His wig split so fast. I didn't know he was hit. It's over with. Heard man screaming, running cops. Is coming. Now I'm happy until I felt somebody else grab me. Damn. And it's like the gun itself wanted to be picked up, and I took wanted to be picked up by the cop, so that it can never be used again. But suddenly somebody swooped it up, and now more sinful acts can take place. Honestly, this is a very, very creative perspective from I would say the other side. Like, nobody took a moment to think about how the gun's feeling is kind of how I'm looking at it. And it's just interesting that Nas went and took this perspective. So I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really great. I don't know that the intro was necessary. Neither did anyone else except for Nas. This is fact.
Well, and he's the artist, right?
Nas decided that to make sure everybody got the point that this song is about a gun, he left it in. And
it's a good thing he did, because Chris wouldn't have known otherwise.
Apparently. I was a little bit not expecting
Well,
that.
I only figured out from like when they were talking about being concealed. Oh, before I wanted to just finish this. My bad. I also thought like the entire song was like a double entendre of just Nas being a really good rapper, as well.
Okay. I know that this song is particularly insightful. Like, you know, you hear a song like this and you think about some of the public issues that we're dealing with, gun controls, blah, blah, blah.
Currently.
Yeah.
More people should listen to Nas. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris kind of covered a lot of the stuff I really loved in this song, especially the way it ends. But like, the third verse starts with such hope, right? Like, yo, weeks went by and I'm surprised, still stuck on my shelf with all the things that an outlaw hides. Besides me, it's bullets, 2 vests, and a 9. There's a grenade in a box and a tech that kept crying because he ain't been cleaned in a year and he's rusty. It's clear he's about to fall to pieces because of his murder career. And it's like, they really personify, anthropomorphize, or however you say that word, the weapons into being like these people with their emotions, and it's almost like this gun is reflecting like the psychology of what a human is like after taking so many lives, like a wrecked and tattered soul version of themselves, and etc. The beat again comes through with like that same kind of groove, that same kind of simple, not overly over the top. Like when you really listen to something like this, you realize that a lot of these newer beats don't know how to capture a groove. They can be hype and they can have a lot of fluff on the top, but this has some deep down in the soul shit that just lets you loop some simple crap over and over again and really allows a poet like Nas to spit such an elaborate tale. The chorus is just laying out almost like fact, like I let you do various things and I gave you this power, and it's like, you know, and as you put it, nobody cares about how the gun even feels if he wants to be involved in these things, which is a silly thing to say, I suppose, but it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
This is the side of any artist that I think is the most stellar. Like, it doesn't matter what artist you are, when you can come up with a truly unique, interesting experience like this, it is just remarkable, and everything about this is good. Even with the intro, which isn't bad, it just seems kind of silly.
Yeah.
I give it a 5. This is a perfect song.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, to sum up the song, it's like the point of view of a gun. It doesn't want to kill, but it was made that way. Talking about how guns get like passed around a lot, and we see that at the end, like when the gun is picked up, so it's going to end up in somebody else's hands, and you know, going to keep doing what it does. And just sort of like questioning, like, do you still like guns when you see, you know, like everybody that it's killed and like what it's done and how it's kind of destroyed the ghetto, and like, you know, how guns are destroying like the ghetto and the hood, and just having them is bad, right? You know, they're just, I don't know, it's just going to continue like killing people. So I don't really think that it's good at all. So that's it. I think that it has a fantastic beat. I give this a 5 on 5. It's a great song. I love it. Go check out my lyrical breakdown.
Yeah, that'll be in the description below because I already put it in the corner earlier on.
Right.
True.
Next one is Watch Them Folk. I just switched the word there.
Features the freak shit. My thesis on how we creep quick. Fucking your wife, that ain't no secret.
Chris, do you have a lot to say about this one?
No, as I just said, I don't have a lot to say about this one. The song's okay for me. I get this sense that Nas is explaining various stories about how friends kind of fuck each other over. You got to be careful about fake people. Foxy Brown and the harmonizing was good. I like that on the hook. The harmonizing was great. But other than that, like in terms of the song itself, I just didn't really feel it. I was like, the beat wasn't so attractive to me. The topic of song, it was like, okay, I understand where Nas is going with it, but it just didn't enthrall me enough to want to really go ever back to it. I do like when Nas says, I got no game, it's just some bitches understand, I just understand my story. And I was like,
yeah, that's a good line.
That's real. Like, It's not about having, you know, game or being able to mac. It's hey, if you understand me and you're down to roll with how I roll and you can kind of handle me, why not be friends? Why not, you know, want to start something? Seems really legit to me. Other than that, though, the song itself, like I said, is just lacking this energy that I was looking for. It didn't give me this, like, kind of want to come back to it type feel. 3.5 on 5.
Okay. So I mean, the title, the name of the title, like those three words were told to him by his brother, his little brother, Jungle, actually, and he's wise. He's telling him, I guess just telling him to like, keep your enemies close, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies even closer. It's basically like the whole point of this song for me. Like, it's just like he wants to be influential and he wants to make a lot of money and he wants to be the top dog kind of, but like people are going to want to be him, and like he's going to have a target on his back because he's going to be making money, and he's going to be successful, and he's going to be a rapper, and he's going to be like doing all these great things that everybody wants to do, and people are going to want to kill him off so that they can take his place, and then they can be the next famous one. And that person is probably somebody that's quite close to him if they're going to have access to him, right? So it's probably someone that's maybe like in his like group or like one of his close friends. So it's just a good message. I mean, it's smart. He's, obviously keeping an eye on the people around him, and he's aware of his power and like where he's at and whatever. So I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was fine.
So I didn't like this one as much as the previous ones. This might be the least one I've liked so much, like least favorite one so far. As I understand it, it was a little bit that his brother had said that to him, more because he was rolling with a dangerous posse, and it was almost a literal statement to pay attention to those around you because you don't know what nefarious deeds they're up to. Simultaneously, Nas had apparently been arrested with no license, and he had a gun, and he was in a Lexus. So, and he was in a certain frame of mind when he put this track together, which I can appreciate. He's
like a New York state of mind?
Something like that.
Cute.
But he's got some like great lines, really. I mean, the beat's a little bit not so lackluster, but like the chorus is cool. Foxy's helping him on the chorus was nice, but again, it just kind of lacked a certain charm or shininess to really like enthrall me. Fine, so I went into the lyrics a bit, and it isn't necessarily like, you got to keep in mind, we just listened to I Gave You Power. Like, that song has you all the way up here. This song takes you a little bit down, is all I'm saying, in comparison.
Okay, that's fair.
It's I don't know, maybe if I had heard it just without the back-to-back experience, it would have been a little different. I do like when he's like, secret indictments as on to one, seeking enlightenment. Mr. Movado says 7, the God hour, that's if you follow tradition started by my school, not far from the Apollo, my fuck tomorrow motto. I forgot which group it is, but one of those groups, I think the 5%ers or somebody along those lines, had their headquarters near the Apollo, and so that's whole little sections about that. But the way he rapped it in the song, that particular section, the flow he dropped was fucking insane. It was super next level. It was super awesome, even if the words were a little bit lost on me. Or what made them mark your victim? You fucked up somewhere down the line. Now they had to target your wisdom. She took him to your place, straight to your safe, And it's just like showing that like this girl that you're with or whatever, when push came to shove, just kind of shows some of the just situations he may have noticed as he started paying attention to the people around him. So I appreciate the perspective per se, but like when you really think about all the other songs he has, it's just a little less shiny is all I'm saying. So it's a 4 on 5. Like, I still think this is a quality song, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it, like, from a Nas perspective, the production side could definitely use a little flossing up or something. Okay. Anyway, that's fine.
Take it in blood.
Yeah.
York night, Rossi and Martini sipping, Sergio Tacchini flipping, mad pies, low price.
First off, I wanted to touch upon the sample of this song is from Kool Keith's verse from Ease Back from the Ultra Magnetic MCs.
Right.
That was interesting. The song I get is a feel of Nas is basically just saying like he's gonna do what he can to take what's his, and if that means taking blood, that means taking blood. Various references to I feel like there's various references to his rapping, how he's a good MC, how he can like destroy anybody on a beat, but as well he's also talking about like him in the streets, or at least the people he associates with, how they rule, how they're gonna like take blood if they have to, if you fuck with them. I like when he goes, yeah, I never brag how I keep it real, cause it's the best secret. I rock a vest prestigious, Cuban link flooded Jesus, intellects watching Kathy Lee and Regis. And it's just, you get this sense where he's like, I don't have to put up a front. I don't have to I don't have to impress anybody. This is what I'm doing. My progression will speak louder than what I have to say instead of like proving it, right? Clearly, Nas is okay with doing stuff on his own. I dolo challenge any team or solo. That line was really cool. Again, he's showing more like he's ready to attack if he has to, but he knows strategically when he has to and when he can do it or not. And then I just like when he said, trick bitches, catching mad feelings, peeling off in the Lex Jeep, techniques is four-wheeling. I was like, all right, he's having fun. He's in the Jeep. He's popping a wheelie. He's doing what he's got to do. All in all, the song itself gave me this feel to want to listen to it again and try to understand it a bit more. Really get that message of where Nas is coming from, because I don't think that it's him per se, like again being violent or physical. I think it's still like people around him, but it's nice to see that storytelling on, like, you can kind of get both sides. So I give it a 4 on 5.
Okay. So what I read was it was apparently about this guy Stretch, and like how he was kind of feeling like betrayed by Tupac because of like some sort of setup robbery that took place like towards Tupac, and like this guy was like his like, you know, in his entourage, and like was like hung out with him, I guess, a lot. I wasn't really sure like what exactly he was involved with with him, but like he was just like shocked that like Tupac wouldn't trust him, and like he loved him so much, and like, you know, he was just, you know, he wasn't involved in any of that, and he didn't like that he thought that he was. So that's kind of what this was about, I think. I really loved the flow of this hook. I kind of thought it would be like a cool song to like try to like rap along to. I just thought it would be fun, like a fun challenge. I learned a few things. Basement is jail, and then a V1 is, or a VI is like a jail visit. And it's like a classic Nas, like ambient, jazzy beat that like I want to like bop my head to, and like it's just like a fun beat. I love it a lot. And for me, like the story of this song like isn't the highlight of this song. It's more like it's the kind of song that you can just put on in the background and listen to it and kind of get like it just sounds so good, just like this, like the vibe and the beat of it. It's just like it stands on its own, and then the story is kind of like secondary to it, I found. Right. So yeah, I get a 4.5 on 5.
So yeah, I thought it was super interesting is that the beatmaker Stretch there, this was the like one of the last songs he ever made. Apparently, according to Nas, Stretch dropped me off at home, then went home and was killed in December of 1995 in Queens. That was a real great guy, and he produced like 2 of Nas's songs, and he felt that there was an irony that one of the last things he produced was Take It in Blood, and it was like a really messed up moment for Nas. So I thought that was like really interesting, like that this is like the last thing that this particular producer ever did was this particular Nas track. And anyway, especially when it's got lines like, I'm all about text, a good jux and sex, is relate books, holding government names from Ness, MCs are crawling out every hole in the slum. You be alright like blood money and a pimp's cum. I don't fully understand the blood money and a pimp's cum thing. I started to look into it. It looked like it was a bunch of specific things strung together that made sense, and I didn't really understand it. So feel free to explain that to me if y'all want to. But the way he flowed it, the way he said everything, it was just so fly, and it really felt like nice, you know? Not nice per se, but nice. And there's other cool lines like, this be the drama, I'm a pause like a comma in a sentence. Yeah, buddy. Grammar bars, paragraphs indented. Oh, it just keeps getting more fire, you know? Then bloodshot red, eyes high. It might be fun to consume while reading about these grammatical things, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yellow envelopes a lie, opening cigars let tobacco fly. Condos are tune-proof. We're looking at the sky's moonroof, shitting like gin and prune juice. I fucking died a little bit when I heard that, right? Because it's like gin and juice, but no, he's shitting, like pooping, because he's drinking gin and prune juice. Like,
yep, that'll do it.
That's actually funny to me. I thought it was great. Just how do you go from grammar bars to the next thing you know, you're shitting and drinking prune juice?
You know,
That's
if
well
you
done.
gotta go, prune juice is the way to do it.
I enjoyed that a lot. And then there's just many other lines that are fun, like put poetry inside a crackpot and blow rough hoes, pull crack up pussies and buttholes. Awesome. I know. You know why? Because it's just so blunt and vivid imagery of like these things that he may have he probably has seen in his life, and it sounds preposterous shit, but the way he delivers it, it's real shit. You know. So I love those lines. I gave it a 4 though, because the beat really wasn't as cool for me. It's cool. Like, it's cool in the sense that it's exactly what Bonnie said. It's really a classic sound. And I've never, as you guys may know, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm still learning to appreciate it. So I dug the track. I would listen to it on the album. It doesn't necessarily compel me as much as some other ones, but that's okay, because as y'all know, Nas is coming.
Without the gun battle, so when you run the lead travels, I come through as taboo. 96.
Dr. Dre's into hizzy. Chris, why don't you spizzy your opinion on this?
So, yeah, Dr. Dre's here. I feel like the intro to this song is a little big screening for Dr. Dre, saying like, hey, look, I met up with Dre, and they're kind of talking, smoking a joint, chit-chatting about how they should work together.
Does sound chit-chatty, no?
Yeah.
Nas is saying how like people have been stealing Dre's style, the way he kind of makes beats, the way he does his thing, and that it's just not right. It doesn't feel right to Nas that people are copying what Dre's doing.
Don't do it.
As well, Dre also kind of mentions like he doesn't. I don't think Dre really cares. I think for Dre, he's like, yo, make your money, do what you gotta do. Everybody's.
If I may. What Nas is saying is like he's tired of how people copying him, people copying Dre. Dre's the best beat maker. He's the best lyricist. What Dre responds with is more, let them. They can't do it as good as us, so who cares?
Yep.
As a result, we'll still make the money.
Yep.
Anyway, please.
They're all about making the money.
Fair. They also touched upon this whole West Coast, East Coast fighting, which they kind of quickly disregard because, again, they don't really care about beefs and stuff.
I don't want to say that
they just
want to
make money.
It, right? I think what they're saying, and it's in the outro, I believe this happens, is that they think the whole thing is a preposterous thing in a sense, that it's bad for business. And that instead, this is a significant thing, right? Because Nas is an East Coast artist and Dre is a West Coast artist. So at the time, in the middle of the East Coast, West Coast thing, I think this was like an effort to kind of make some peace or like patch some shit up. So they're almost putting it out there saying, we don't have to be beefing like this. Look, I'm doing this collaboration here. We're just going to make some money off of this. So y'all should be inspired to, you know, not go at each other and instead find ways to make money with each other. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in because I thought it was a really cool thing that they did. It might be my favorite part of this song.
Fair. Nothing. I quoted one line from Nas in the song. Throughout the entire song, I just felt like Nas was basically saying that he's a better rapper. He's showing us why. He's giving us great technique, great flow. One thing I liked from him was, in the black limo, Jack Daniels through the cracked window. I spot the fake red dot, his face like a Hindu, snatched the symbol, tied his hands to make examples. And it was just no particular reason. I just really liked the way he said it, the way he delivered it.
Okay.
But you can tell that he doesn't fuck around, and that he's really trying to make his mark in where he stands in either the rap game or in the streets. Definitely backed up by the beat production from Dr. Dre. The only thing that I really didn't like about this was the ending. The last like 30 seconds of the song was just completely weird and irritating to me. But all in all, the song got a 4 on 5.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, like right at the beginning, like he's kind of like, again, you know, chit-chatting with Dre, and like he's obviously like a big fan. And I think that like, you know, East Coast or West Coast, I think that you're still like, wow, like impressed that it's him, you know? Like I don't think anybody like really cares like when it comes down to it. Maybe certain people do, but not Nas. They, you know, Nas and Dre, they're here to have a good time. They're relaxing, they enjoy working together, it's fun, and they just want to make money. And like that's like their main goal, and they don't really like care if there's like a beef that much. You know, that he's just talking about like they're untouchable. So I learned that calico is slang for a gun. So, you know, I enjoy learning all this slang. If you like snitch on him, like he'll find you. And when he shows up, he means business. Like don't even play. And his name spreads like an STD. and he has a gun and whatever. You know, he kind of wants to have that like that notorious like name, and like he wants to be like that notorious symbol that he like aspires to be. You know, and he wants to be like the famous like mobsters and whatever, and he wants that scary power, and he likes to kind of be like an omen, you know, like that something bad's gonna happen because, you know, like people should be scared, you know, like that he's gonna come get them. So I think that it was like an interesting sound, like the whole song. It was kind of like weird and creepy, and like the whole thing was interesting. And it's just sort of like a fantasy of how he like envisions himself being like, you know, like this like, you know, untouchable, like great, like mobster, you know, and he mentions, I think he mentions Pablo Escobar like a whole bunch in this album, you know, so he wants to be like that kind of like international mobster who like lives like luxuriously and like is untouchable and can kill anybody and like it doesn't matter, you know, like he wants to have that kind of fame. So yeah, I gave this a 4.25.
That's fair. But I just thought it weird that anyone would want to be Pablo, particularly. The dude was super paranoid. Didn't look like he was very happy. And, like, the more I learn about him, like, the less interesting he really is. There are more successful role models in that world you could be like, is all I'm trying to say.
Fair.
Just because magazines call somebody something doesn't make it, you know.
True.
I get it. I get why he particularly has cultural relevance. But, I hate the beat. I want to throw it out there. Like, I really don't enjoy it. It sounds very Dr. Dre, but it also doesn't sound very good. I think Nas does it really well, and I'm not saying like it's a bad beat. I'm saying I don't particularly like the beat. All right, so I get it. It's probably super well made. I just don't. I found it like it was grating. It felt like it was taking away. Like it didn't sound as good with Nas. It made me really appreciate all those beats I complained about earlier, you know? Like, I kind of prefer Nas on that, and that's just personally, or something about it. I don't know. It didn't feel right. Lyrically, it was okay, but it wasn't, like, super enticing. It was like, we got a couple of concept songs, but mostly it's just been Nas flossing a little bit. It's worth noting that him and Raekwon are good buddies. And Raekwon had done Built for Cuban Links recently, so... Which
he does mention the lyric, like, Cuban Links. Right. I think that you brought it up at some point, yeah.
But if you think about it, this kind of sounds like Raekwon reading a lot of books. Is the feeling I got off of this album. I know that we butchered our Only Built for Cuban Links review, but in hindsight, it's really brilliant, and that felt like a little more Scarface, like grandiose. This feels like the scholar's approach to like the same subject matter, and it's really, maybe. To me, it's like a really cool lens to put on. I know a lot of people called him pop and stuff. This doesn't feel like a pop album to me, as you know, I just don't feel that. But I can see how it also doesn't necessarily have the same grittiness that Illmatic had, you know. Still, this song, I didn't have a lot to say about this song, so I was just filling in extra thoughts I had along the way. I did like when he's like, the golden child chopped that ass up. You was holding out, let the streets be the court and corners hold the trial, fatal, not fictitious. Okay, like it's really fun wordplay, but it doesn't say a whole lot. Right. Or rap hero, Black De Niro, Federal Bureau, top my line and got zero. Rap pro, diamond roll, hustling low, profile, white gold style, raking bloody dough by the pile. Great rhyming, fun flowiness.
Yep.
Not a lot of substance for me to hold on to. It's just flares, flashiness. It's okay. But like I suppose with Nas, I really like the density. It's kind of what I've come to enjoy in him. So I give this a 3.5. Totally not my favorite song. Affirmative Action though is another one on this album.
My man Smoke knew how to expand coke and Mr. Coffee. Feds cost me.
Nas had like a little group called The Firm. Okay. This is last time we didn't know who AZ was. We were like, AZ is some little guy, and everybody laughed at us. No, AZ was part of The Firm, right?
Yep.
And at the time, I believe Cormega was part of it. Now, if I understand, membership of The Firm was rather fluid in this period of time, and they were kind of trying some people out. So I don't know if this is the final Firm squad or the actual Firm squad, or if this was just the at the time Firm squad.
Probably. But
it was Foxy Brown, AZ, Cormega, and Nas. So Affirmative Action is basically a play on the idea, plus has the word firm in it. Anyway, posse cut. Go, Chris.
I like the heavily intro to the beat is good. The heavenly intro, my apologies, like bells and not bells and whistles, but like trumpets, and kind of gave me this like lightish, happy scene. Anyway.
Okay.
AZ is fucking great. I love hearing his voice. I love it when he spits. He's got this way and this flair to him that just kind of like keeps you want to continue listening. It's a head bopping beat. The way that they take control about it. All the artists, they take control on each of their verses and they do what they got to do. I like when AZ goes. Just like I was saying, yo, sit back, relax, catch your contacts, sip your cognac, and let's all wish this money through this laundromat. Let's all wash this money through the laundromat. It's just catchy. It's you kind of you won't forget it. You won't forget the way he says it. It's something very memorable.
That's actually in reference to Al Capone was the first one who used the term laundering because he would take his money. And then he owned a laundromat, and then he took that money, his gangster stealing money to the bank, but it was like through, he just claimed that like the laundromat had made all this. Yeah. And that's where the term laundering comes from. Fun fact there, folks.
Nice. I liked Cormega. I liked when he goes, criminal thoughts in the blue Porsche, my destiny to be the new boss. And you get this, I got this sense from Cormega that he's really trying to live this like, what I thought, street dream in a sense. Like, I felt like his verse kind of brought me back to how street dream and how they have this type of mentality and they want to drive these rich cars, but they're also doing like criminal activity to kind of get some of these materialistic things.
Yep.
So that was really cool. There was nothing much for me to quote from Nas. I felt like it was just
a really small part too.
Yeah, it was Nas. He does what he does. It wasn't anything too spectacular. But Foxy Brown though, I didn't know she could rap like this, and it was good. Another thing I also realized is I think she's the one keeping count with all the drug flipping in the building.
Dude, that is okay. May I interject here? This is the worst fucking math bars I ever heard. Okay. Please allow me to read this. Just tell me if you can follow along.
Well, I mean, I
have algebra and skills
Are you gonna just?
Oh, I'm going to.
Okay, good. I don't have to read it.
Keys is 1 2/5. So how can we flip 32 grams raw? Chop it in half. Get 16. Double it times 3. We got 48. What? That doesn't even make sense. Double it times 3 implies 2 multiplications. So it's actually failing the math grammar here. Anyway, which means a whole lot of cream. Yes, but more than 48. Divide the profit by 4. Subtract it by 8. We back to 16. Why? Why did you do that?
Well, wait.
Now add the other 2. That mega bringing through. So let's see if we flip this other key. Then there's more for me. Mad Coke and Mad League plus 500 cut in half is 250. Now triple that times 3.
We got 3/4
of another key. Like all of that really doesn't.
Maybe you shouldn't have skipped so much school.
I think it's the grammar because 16 plus 16 plus 16 is 48.
I know, but double it times 3. So
I get it. That's what I'm saying. Like I think it's like the grammar you're having an issue with.
I am because it's very important. Math is a language, and if you speak it, plus all of that, and you end up with 3/4 of a second kilo. Like you go through all of that process and. I don't know, man. It was just the least profound equation to run through. So let's say we get past the grammar and run through that equation. Maybe it's like the most real thing ever, and that's exactly the math transaction behind this kilo of Coke's distribution, and how at the end she makes an extra 75% of a kilo's worth of Coke. I'm just like, what the hell did I just listen to?
Yep.
It is convoluted. Now, listen, does she rap it well? Why, yes, sir, she does, or ma'am. But does that make it it's the worst math verse I've heard. Go on, please.
I gave it a 4. Continue.
Okay. What did you give it?
I gave it a 4. I also did like when Nas went and pushed Cakes inside the casket and just wake it sick, and he just finished buddying upstate, and now the projects is talking as somebody gotta die shit. It's logic as long as it's nobody in my clique, which I thought was interesting. Like he's okay with everything as it is until it's somebody in his squad, and then he's got to get involved.
People can die, just not my friends.
Yep.
And I also really dug the AZ line that Chris quoted, but I also like because right after the laundromat party goes sneak attack with the new cats and rap with top dollar. In fact, touch mines and I'll react like a Rottweiler. So they're cats, but he's the big dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's back when Rottweilers were cool and shit. They're still cool. Rottweilers are badass dogs. Yep. They're so friendly and nice and stuff.
They're so sweet.
They're like the nicest dogs ever, unless you train them to be evil. Am I uncle has one. He's freaking awesome. Anyway, it's a 4 on 5. The beat's all right. Look, that math part cannot be forgiven. It is. She can rap. It makes me want to go listen to her music. Like, I think we maybe even should cover one of her albums or something. But fuck, don't touch math verses if you can't come up with a way to make math sexy. Anyway, that's what I got to say about that. Bonnie, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, this song was kind of boring. I didn't think it was his best. It wasn't my favorite. Just about like taking action to advance, doing what you got to do. He talks about like the 4 devils, which are lust, envy, hate, and jealousy, and he's like not about any of those. He's just kind of like doing what you got to do. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much for me to say. I think it was a harpsichord. It kind of sounded like Baroque style. So, you do you. It's kind of cool that he's like drawing on like these like old school sounds to like put into his music. I think he's done that before, and I think that that's kind of unique about what he does. I gave this a 3 on 5. It was not my favorite. It wasn't for me, this wasn't his best song at all.
That's cool. It's the setup.
All
That's
right.
what's next.
These niggas hit the guard, bring the toaster. Meet me in the bridge, I'm about to go loca. Left my rap back.
I didn't really like this song per se. Just the song itself. The message behind it I got was there's girls in the hood. If you fuck with the girls in the hood, you get into an orgy and then you get killed.
Yeah.
That's like the most streamlined way you can describe it.
I know. I'm sorry. It's just the song itself just really did not catch my attention. Like,
Okay.
I wasn't into the beat. I wasn't really into the vibe. It didn't sound so like phenomenal. Phenomenal is a big word, but like it just didn't.
I get it.
Okay.
Okay.
But essentially, that's kind of what I got. I feel like Nas is describing these types of girls in the hood that do what they got to do to survive and make their money, and
Okay.
I got a sense maybe that they're working on Nas's team, so they're kind of like playing these enemies that Nas has, something like that. But really, it comes down to don't fuck with the girls in the hood because they'll kill you in an orgy. I gave it a 3.9 on 5.
Okay. Your turn.
Yeah, so this is sort of like a revenge song about like his friend that was murdered, and like the guy, like he thinks that he's like Pablo Escobar, so he goes by Nas Escobar, and so he thinks that he's like this like intricate planner of like all these bad things, and so he kind of finds this guy and like uses like these hoes to kind of like trap him so that he can go in and kill them, or like he can get these girls to kill them. And so he thinks that the girls weren't going to do it or whatever. And so he was going to go in, and then the girls did it. And then like they killed the girls, or I think he killed the girls or whatever because, he didn't want anybody to like talk, right? Like he didn't want any witnesses.
I don't think the girls died. I think that the girls, because I remember Nas stating that like they ran out, like they did what they went into the orgy.
Out, but then what happened after?
I think he still shoots them, right?
I actually don't remember.
Anyways, so I just thought it was like a weird, interesting kind of gangster story about like revenge and like how they'll, like you might think you're in like a safe zone and like with safe people, but like they could be like conspirators, like, and that's
Well, it also just
they're gonna
drives
kill
home
you.
the point of like don't trust anyone,
Yeah.
Like you got to be careful who you're trusting.
But it also adds a little more color than don't mess with the girls in my hood.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly describing an elaborate setup. Like part of the song is him talking to So-So or whoever and like validating like these are the right girls for it. Like they plotted all through. Like
He's talking to Havoc from Mobb Deep.
Yeah. But I really like so many lines on this. Like spark the lie, QBC, yo, it's right, do or die. It's Queensbridge,
Yep.
Yeah,
Established in 1933.
In this business of trifeness, I finesse Boyardee, we chef shit. Awesome. Anytime we get a Boyardee line.
Yep.
Perfect shit, Albert Einstein. He is, because he made a Boyardee line. Mine's connect with dangerous son. Step back, let the tech lift you up, bless you with a shardy, then we set you up. See? They're organizing and orchestrating this type of shit, right? So you're right, don't trust them, but it's a little bit more about them being the masterminds.
Again, I did listen to the song and I got that. It's just the song itself is just not.
And then Sos pulled me close and told me the deal. He said both holes will peel, spray shots and reload and still handle the wheel. So not only will do that, they can still then drive after. It's pretty cool. Point them out and smoke a field and chill. I lay back, Escobar status. Yep. Knowing the firm got it cornered. That's his squad. Plug. And we on it. Shit we was born with. I mean, it's all right. It's decent storytelling. Sos give the Mac to Venus and Vicious, looking delicious. Handle your business and step to him. Shake your ass. Try to screw him. Do what you got to do to get to him. A type Parasuko with young faces can turn Buck Dutta Fuoko. I don't know what that means. Of all ages. If you can tell me what that means. You guys are good with that stuff. I like learning slang too. Basically, they're just kind of really laying it in. And then they plan about it. And then they introduce the girls. Then it happens. And that's kind of the song.
Yep.
But I thought it was really well made. And a really great feel. And everything was pretty cool. So 4.5 on 5 for my end.
Oh, nice. I think I gave it a 4. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but yeah.
That's all right. But Black Girl Lost is the next track.
All right.
But now you rent a dick, wear the tightest shit. Chanel looking real, airbrush nails, hit the...
I'm a little confused about how to feel about this one because I don't really know how to take this song. I don't know what Nas is, what side of the fence Nas is on. I don't know if he's trying to tell what these women are doing is wrong, or if he's like criticizing them or judging them, or if he's like trying to just acknowledge what they're doing and then trying to help them. So
I think it's both.
I think he's more criticizing them though.
But I think it's like his intent is both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So to break it down a little bit, what I really liked about the song was in the intro, you get these two girls that are on there having a conversation. But what really stuck with me was the fact that in the background, there is a news report that's going on talking about how a 49-year-old unidentified man went berserk last night in a downtown restaurant with a shotgun. 14 people are dead, including 3 children.
I completely missed that.
And it's really, and I had to play it back because I wanted to get it 100% because
Nice.
The two girls on the phone, and again, it's not both girls hearing this news thing. It's one girl the way that the scenario plays out is one girl calls her friend who seems to be like having this whole good old time happening. So what I'm thinking is that the news report is in the house of the girl who's kind of feeling down. She wants to be lifted up. That's why she's calling her friend. Now, in the meantime, they're having a conversation about like one of the boyfriends isn't around. He's busy doing his own spiritual like back to Africa thing. And they're kind of like dismissing a lot of this important stuff that's happening. But suddenly the friend's like, well, there's a thing happening at the spot here. And if you want to have a good time, you should come with us. Let's go chill with the real, because they're
the rich.
Right, and because they got the money, they got the good. They don't have that they have the Cristal. They don't have the white wine or whatever it is. And it seems like Nas is portraying that. Well, a couple things. One, certainly these women really don't care about what's going on in the world. They're kind of more in tune with wanting to party, have a good time, get money, live life. But as well, it could also be portraying that bad shit like this happens all the time, that you kind of just don't really think about it anymore. You hear it on the news, you hear it on the radio, and you're still just living your everyday life without stopping to even pay attention.
I think there's one more message in there.
Which would?
Women don't appreciate a proper man. A man who's interested in the wise types of things. They're interested in these fast player types, and instead of valuing your man who's, maybe interested in that back to Africa, God, spiritual stuff, not being a player, popping bottles, whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's just saying something about their values of people, showing what kinds of guys they're interested in. And then, in my opinion, like, just Nas's verses are almost a response to that conversation as he lays out his perspective of the situation. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
There wasn't much for me to quote personally. My thing with the song is I don't really know how I feel about criticizing the women. I feel like they're kind of allowed to do what they want to do, I guess. Like, I don't see why they're not allowed to have fun or do what they want. Yeah. But I do also kind of see the flip side of where Nas is coming from and like trying to make them acknowledge like what they're doing and kind of the path they're taking, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, if they want to live that life, I don't want to judge and, put anybody in a box or anything.
On the other end of the spectrum, I think what Nas is trying to say is you know, while you're with this guy and he's trying to make his life pure, how are you going out there and creeping? I mean, just yesterday you were talking about how going to the strip club and ignoring your woman was a bad thing. I think this is a little bit like in the same ballpark of that. So you can't have a problem when men do it to women and then not have a problem when women do it to men.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
You personally.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really want to catch any slack for
you're
either
not
side.
Gonna catch. You personally aren't going to catch slack. The reality is Nas made a song addressing what he sees a particular issue going on.
Yeah.
And I don't actually find that he was that dismissive or anything like that. I think he tried to describe his ideal partner almost, and he has encountered certain issues here, and he's encountered certain types of people, and I think it's a little bit of his perspective on the general state of black women at the time, and maybe trying to guide them back to maybe a more enlightened, self-empowering way. So is it about judging? Does he have a right to? I don't really know if that's a question I can answer. 2018's lens and 1996's lens are definitely not the same thing. And I don't know if it's the fairest thing to like come at this song for, especially because I don't find this to be misogynistic, you know?
Yeah, no, I think he's just sort of commenting. He's just making a comment on like the society and like girls like this. And he's seeing like an uprising of girls like this, you know? And he's just kind of like, you guys need to like chill the fuck out.
And he like describes them though in detail, like a young and wild, beautiful love child. You hit them thug style, link rocking that mink copping, hit you in the sink, $100 drink popping. The head'll make you take him shopping. That head'll make you take him shopping. See, you know, just the type of person. Follow doctrine, reminiscent of my first time up in a chick. You was innocent, but now you rent a dick. Wear the tightest shit. So it's like, I mean, on the one hand, you do have Salt and Pepper kind of saying it's none of your business. But I do think that Nas isn't really trying to be a shit. He's just trying to put his, like, voice out there saying, this is a type of way of living, and I don't think it's the right way. You know? I don't feel like he's particularly judging. He's just kind of observing on general behavior patterns.
Fair.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 4.
A 4? Okay.
I do like the song. I do like the what he's trying to do. Again, I just
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, Black Girl Lost is also like the name of a book that like I looked up and it looks like fantastic and I'm gonna buy it probably this week. It looks very good. Kind of about like black culture and like what was going on. So I don't know if anybody else is interested. Anyways, so it's sort of like a phone conversation between like these two girls and like, you know, they just want to get with like rich guys and real guys.
One of them has a boyfriend.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then I think this is like Nas like fantasizing about this girl. I think maybe this is his girlfriend, maybe. Or it's, you know, somebody's girlfriend, like maybe someone that he knows. But then he stops and then she's and then he sees that like she's a hoe and that like she does like all of this crap and he's not for, you know, all the stuff that she's doing. You know, she's partying and like she's gold digging and she's on drugs and like she's just kind of in that weird life and he's just kind of like, ugh, I can't be wasted with a girl like that. And he just kind of says to her or like thinks to her, I don't know, that in the end this is only going to hurt yourself. Like you're not going to get anywhere by like trying to do all this. Like you're just going to look like a hoe and nobody's going to treat you with respect and you're not going to get like what you want out of this by acting like that. And like it's a stereotype for like a lot of like black women, and again like this was their way of kind of maybe getting out of the ghetto or of having nice things, you know, when they otherwise couldn't. Like they kind of have to like make this choice to be like this, but it is a bad choice. It is something you probably shouldn't carry on with, like, you know, for your entire life. You shouldn't be behaving this way. And I think that that's kind of what he's saying. Like, you know, you're just going to be like embarrassed by like who you've become and like what you're doing. And like when you think about it.
I did think of the perfect counter to that idea. When Miss Cardi B goes, I don't dance now, I make money moves.
Yeah, that's
true. That is an interesting counter to this entire song a little bit.
Again, yeah, 20 years later or whatever. So yeah, it's just like these girls being used by like these like rich business guys who are just taking advantage of them and like doing whatever they got to do. And then he kind of says like, you know, like, you should be, like, kind of ashamed of yourself by, like, you know, going out there fucking some random guy, and you've got kids at home who aren't being raised properly because you're not there to do this, because you're doing this kind of stuff. Like, this is bad behavior. Like, you're not setting a good example. And he said, like, in the song, he says, like, you should be ashamed of yourself. So he is kind of, like, saying, like, don't yeah, like, he does, you know, he's like, you know, you shouldn't be like this. You should be a better mother and, like, contribute better, you know, do something better for the community, you know, which is kind of, I guess, ironic that he's saying that, but, like, in a way he does want to be a good person, so you know, but whatever. Yeah, so I mean, it's just, it was an interesting story. It was a cool story. And I guess, like, something that was, like, common at this time, or, you know, maybe still is, you know, a lot of women were doing this. So 4 on 5, I thought it was interesting.
I mean, on the one hand, you can see where he might be, like, a little bit silly in his condemnation, because it sounds like he's just not a fan of a phase of life that a lot of people are going to live through. And, like, it just sounds like the way young people are is not a big fan of him. But whether or not you're doing it for money, most young people seem to hoe up for a while, whether you're actually a hoe, whether you just do a bunch of stupid, sluttier things, and then you grow up and you're a little bit less so. And yeah, some people might make careers out of it, etc., etc. But, I mean, it is a little bit like he's trying to, like, state, like, this is the general way of being to a certain group of people who probably are not living proper. And if you were to take the full context of who he's speaking to, that specific group of people, this song totally makes sense. If you were to look at it like he's just speaking to all women, okay, it's going to sound like a bad song, you know? But if you are a mother, and this is maybe not my place to say, but if you're not with your kids and you're letting somebody else raise them because you want to go out there and fuck the next dude, look, man or woman, whatever position, if you're failing your parental duties...
Well, if she's doing that, she's probably not letting somebody else raise them. There's probably nobody raising them.
Or grandma or somebody like that, you know? Somebody's raising them, whatever, while you go out there. I'm not saying that everybody isn't entitled to a little bit of fun every now and again. In fact, I encourage y'all to do it. But the way it's implied is this is more of the regular day type of thing as opposed to an every now and again. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I like the perspective songs like this because there's a truth in it. It almost feels like Nas's heart was broken by a girl like this. And this was honestly his response, this education effort, you know? Like, he feels sad at the state of his community. And maybe it's preachy. Maybe. But I still thought it was a 4.5 on 5. It was really well made, really interesting to listen to. And I kind of like the fact that we took a step away from some of this more mafiosa, gangsterish stuff to go approach some, like, interesting and personal subject matter, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, the next one is Suspect.
Ambulance placed him on some cushion. His mom's had a stay. I wouldn't dare second look when
I feel like Nas is addressing the fact that shit's still happening. We have this creative, elaborate story about how Nas jumps out of a cab because somebody just got popped in the head. And he's kind of trying to cope with the situation. He's kind of like, oh, not again. Like, this keeps happening. There's still bloodshed on the floors. I like when he goes, it hurt. Kind of look it as brief reminder that the street's designed to stop your life clock. And stop your life clock. What you with, Lucci or drama? No sleep means insomnia. No need to check the clock. The streets will time ya. And it's scary to think that I believe that, you know, your time ends when your time ends. But to have that vision and have that perspective of, like, yeah, your time is controlled by whatever happens on the streets, it's just, that's a scary feeling. It's a scary thought. And I couldn't imagine what Nas feels like, having to be reminded of that feeling every time something happens like this, which I'm assuming happens very frequently. The rest of the song, for me, I just feel like is just various stories of what goes on. The drums were nice with the vocals mixed well. The song wasn't bad at all. The beat was good. I left it with a 4 on 5.
Okay. So just kind of guys, like, talking about crimes at the beginning. I do like, I love it when there's, like, that kind of, like, scratchy, like, record sound, like, where it's kind of, like, skipping over it, and I thought that was kind of fun. It starts off with like, it was a murder, so it kind of just like sets the tone for the entire song. Like, it was, there's a murder that's going to take place. And he just kind of feels like Queensbridge will be the death of him. Like he loves it, but like, and it's his home, but like it's going to kill him, like just like the hood life does. Black people compare themselves to like Native people. I thought that was interesting because they were also like captured and colonized, and so like they kind of like get like the same sort of like some of the same issues that like Native people are going through at the same time as Black people. And it feels powerful, but for me, like this song, like it just felt like there was like too much going on like throughout the song, and so it was like too much and lacking something at the same time. So I give it a 4 on 5, but it wasn't my favorite, but it was still a good song.
That's fair. It kind of lays out the story as it comes in, and as you guys have described. There's a few lines that really, really struck with me, like when Nas is like, his mom said to stare, I wouldn't dare, second look when I murk it hurt, kind of took it as a brief reminder that the street's designed to stop your life clock, the beast will time you. And that's just, like Chris was saying, it's an interesting, like thought. And then it continues with, set a cell, suspect ass, you fail, first time locked in Comstock, my mind blocks the frail, burst in blasting at your 40 cal shell, split your dry cell, might never snitch, why tell, we roll with no regrets, destinies, 50s inequities, queens will be the death of me, like what Bonnie was saying. And like that whole part, like it just like resonates deep within you, like this is his home, this is what he knows. And it's moments like that where I always feel very like far away from the realities that can happen that are going on, that maybe my skin color prevents me from experiencing, or my circumstances, let's say.
Right.
I also really like comprehend the grammar math we own. Are you the type of to shoot a leg to get your name known? As in like you just pop a guy in the leg because it's not going to kill him, and you don't actually have to murder the guy, but you still look tough because you popped off your gun.
Yeah.
Interesting, I flip the brain tone, get hit and wrapped in plastic. The mic I strike in vain, giving the pain of what a Mac is. Something about the way he flowed that line that really struck with me, and just like his mic doesn't do anything because of what the Mac ends up actually doing, It's just beautiful stuff to me. The song's laced with that kind of poetry, but you're right. It doesn't necessarily have the same shininess. This was more of the lesser tracks of this style on the album, but I happen to still really like it and give it a 4.25. I would find myself going back to this more than, say, the one with Dre.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, let's check out Shootouts.
Yeah.
From the check to Nisha, fat ass real fly with the blonde Caesar, Bettadini summer.
So for Shootouts, the beat's dope. The song itself is talking about what I got was different stories of ending up in tragic situations, guns going off, cops getting involved. I'll be honest, I didn't really like this song as much. I preferred I Gave You Power more as a gun song than this song. I do understand the concept. I understand where Nas is trying to bring light to, like, this is an everyday thing. Like, we have shootouts just like the Wild Wild West. There's shit that goes on. There's things that happen. But it didn't stick with me as much as the other, again, I Gave You Power, the way he explained it, and he kind of gave you that different flip side of the perspective of the violence. So, all in all, I mean, the song stayed at a 3.5 for me. That's really all I have.
Yeah, I mean, this song the same. Like, it didn't really do much for me. Like, I mean, I get the story. I did kind of like the 60s, like, kind of cartoon, like, at the beginning of, like, the song. That's kind of what it sounded like to me. Mm-hmm. So this is, again, like, another sort of ghetto hood story. A cop. Maybe I wasn't following along well enough. So it's something about a cop that arrests black people, but then ends up, like, hooking up with this black girl. Or, like, maybe she's a hoe. I wasn't really sure what was going on. And she sets him up. I think that was it. And then he kills the snitch and the cop, I think, at the same time. And this is all, like, stories about, like, him in jungle. So this is, like, him and his little brother. And I still I love hearing, like, stories like, you know, it's like him and his little brother running around town causing trouble. You know, I just think that's, like...
Great pals.
You know, like, it just sort of makes me think of, like, Robin and Batman, like, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, like, they're often doing whatever they need to do.
Yes.
And it's like the 60s cartoon, so it just makes me think of, like, all of that, right?
Every
and all just,
gangster
like,
is running around going,
Batman.
dee-dee-dee-dee.
So, like... And then the second verse is something to do with like gamblers and like this guy Pierre and him getting killed and just like a whole bunch of like shenanigans that are going on. So maybe like I was just, like I said, a little bit out of it and I wasn't really paying too much attention. But like this song was not my favorite and like didn't really like hold my attention either. Mm-hmm. So I think that says something. So I gave it a 3 on 5.
I like this song a lot. It was such a good story. So you have the first verse, and this particular cop who's harassing people in the hood. I believe he goes as far as arresting like 10 black folk a day. Just a real guy with a grudge. Yeah. Bad motherfucker. Yeah. And this particular cop meets up with Tanisha, and it turns out that Tanisha's a bit of a snitch, and she's banging him and giving some information to the cop, etc. Yep. And then as Nas puts it, he grabbed this bitch by her tits. She tried to save the earth. We saw the cameras, tape recorders, and the monitors. They eyeing us. Nas, yo, he survived one for the 405. Pull his shade down, and they seen his last days now. There's no way now. And then, he proceeds to, like, kill them. And then she's living in a snitch grave now. Oh, basically, I think they let the girl go because she's a known snitch at this point. So they just know they don't even have to kill her because she's basically a snitch.
Like, everyone knows she's going to snitch.
That's how I interpret that last part. Like, yo, the bitch is saved now. She's living in a snitch grave now. Like, there's no reason to kill her.
But I thought that she was dead. I thought that's what it meant. Like, she was
snitch
dead.
Grave, like, they just put her in a grave and she's a snitch. It could be a play on word like that.
But I feel like they're like,
that's how she
we don't even have to kill her. She's labeled a snitch. She's just in that grave for life.
I see
that's
that
kind of how I took it.
I see that too.
Why would they bother killing that guy so directly and then having her saved now, Like,
I thought he killed her anyways. Anyway, we don't know.
That's neither here nor there.
See? Didn't pay attention.
The second verse describes how this dude is kind of out of prison and then they watch some stuff on the camcorder and he's going off and they have a party and stuff and someone shoots and it results in the cops coming and Nas is like, fuck that, and goes in, and that's kind of that one. And then because the cops are coming, they all like just decide to go out in a blaze of glory and take out the cops. So, high tech,
just
get
like
the
Bon
40
Jovi.
Cali, stainless. Jake is still out. Let's make it real and still make them famous. Dip behind trees and fatigues and squeeze, dodge and weave. Hearing Jake retaliating, and Wiz was up the alley waiting. We breezed, jumping the ride. Heard Pierre died. That's very sad. Internal bleeding inside, and he ain't been back since '95. And so it kind of ends like that with this elaborate shootout, and it's just a song about shootouts, the stories as you put it. But I happen to think it's really great storytelling and really captured me into it, and I was so invested in what happened to these people. So I give it a 4.5 on 5. This is one of the cooler songs on the album for me.
Cool.
So let's talk about some live person rap.
On our way to LA, got links with big gas down in Santa Barbara.
For me, this song is straight bars. It's featuring Mobb Deep, Prodigy, and Havoc. First verse, we've got
Prodigy.
And he goes, JFK on our way to LA, got links with big cats down in Santa Barbara. My crew do it the mob way, every day, crime pay. Who wanted gunplay? Thrill me, kill me, grilling me. You want to look, peep the millie, now undress, the drilly. And I just loved everything about that. Like,
of course.
Just the silliness behind it, the realness behind it, the way he said Santa Barbara, like, just everything that went into that line just really was like, that was cool. And then verse 2, again, for me, this was all just bars. Like, I didn't get nothing more than just, I'm a better rapper, I'll kill you if you fuck with me, and just hard shit like that.
Yep.
Havoc goes, if I was you, then I would do what I have to do, but you ain't me. You hesitated, so I clapped you, then stepped off casually, naturally me. Like, he basically is just looking at it like, look, if you see me standing in front of you, you should do what I'm going to do. And what I'm doing is I'm going to kill you like it's nothing. So you should kill me first before I kill you. Which, I mean, with somebody, as much as I remember from Mobb Deep, they seem to be very into the streets, very, very gang-related, very heavy, very ready to go. I mean, if somebody that beef and that scary is coming up to you, you better be ready to kill. I completely agree with that.
Yep.
And then something that Nas said, curriculum of mathologists, deep throats, they try to swallow this, anthropologists, dynasties of great knowledgists. I think that's a play on word about getting head. I feel like
And he's like an anthropologist and like sees what's going on in the world.
And in the back of her throat with his dick.
Yeah,
I
so I was
He's
right.
exploring.
It's a play about getting head. I felt really cool to understood that. As much as I might not fully get it, but I was like, all right, this is some smart word play on getting head. That was cute. It's very catchy. I vibe to it. It's a 4 on 5.
Okay. So for me, like, he's got connections all over the world, and so he's kind of like one of those like international mobster, gangster kind of guys, and he wants to be like so bad, like guys from Colombia or Mexico or whoever. And this is just basically another song like about them like being like hard and like, you know, the shenanigans that they get up to, and you know, and they say like, you know, like they say rest in peace to like people and like, you know, friends that they've lost. You know, and the beat was cool. I didn't, you know, mind it. But, like, for me, again, like, it wasn't, like, his top song. So I gave it a 3.5 on 5. And that's pretty much all I've got to say.
I liked it. I happen to agree with Chris. This was pretty, like, Mobb Deep comes in with bars. And it's really, like, from the beginning, yo, NYC, UNI verse. Seriously, Havoc and P. Queens, so it seems to be monopolize strategies of war, exercise, like right off the bat, intelligence and streets mixed into one, and it rolls from there. And Nas is a lot of that, so it really like made sense. I've yet to meet a challenger who will go against my set. Gem stars razor sharp like Gillette. Awesome line. Gillette makes a good razor. I can attest to that. Shaving closely, it does do that. Plus, it's good for like the killing part. Yep. Closely on any character approach me, I let the streets get the best of me, infamy, my destiny, because they're the infamous, get it?
Yep.
While cat burglar is trying to sneak peek the recipe, which is what the posers do, you know?
Trying to copy.
Or cat burglar.
We got it locked beyond your measure. Your clicks under pressure. Extort you for your treasure. Smack you with the undresser. Represent your click. Go ahead and get your ass whipped. Then Prodigy comes in, floating in the river with your body wrapped in plastic. Wannabe thug gets smocked for back tacking. QB represent. Fuck that, it can happen. It's like, I could tell you one thing. These guys know how to describe these harsh bars in a way that is actually good. Yeah. Most often, violent bars don't do a lot for me, but Havoc and Prodigy just do it sweet. And then Nas, I think, was a little horny. Nas is a menage a trois in Mont Airy lodges. We like a smooth fan, but rougher than Belle de Barges. Honestly, the menage a trois line, I loved it. Catching charges of marksman, living heartless, grab a cartridge, cock my own shit on some mob shit. I don't actually like Nas as much as I like Havoc and Prodigy on this. I think they're a lot better, a lot more fun. Nas is a little more Nas, which is all right, but didn't fit it as well. But still, I give this a 4.5 on 5. We're talking about it not being perfect. It's pretty great. I really enjoyed the beats. There's something about this style, like it just feels authentic, grimy, proper, everything cool. And it's a surprising contrast from the song that closes this album, If I Ruled the World. Imagine that, eh?
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to figure out where this was on the album.
It's at the very end.
Thanks. Ha 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 ha. I was happy to hear this. This is Nas explaining his vision, his side of things, what he wants to accomplish, what he wants to see, instead of a lot of the journalistic type tracks that we've gone throughout the album. I like when he goes, imagine smoking weed in the streets without cops harassing. Imagine going to court with no trial, lifestyle, cruising blue Bahama waters, no welfare supporters. And as much as I wouldn't completely know about a lot of that, I could imagine that is something he has to deal with on a daily.
Hold on. Just to be clear, what you just said there was, imagine being allowed to smoke weed. We can't do that in Canada. It's illegal. And then he's picturing, like, no welfare and cruising on, like, a jet ski in the Bahamas. I think anyone can imagine that as being a pretty decent paradise thing. And no welfare supporters and shit.
I'm
specifically
saying that,
what you just said.
Well, I'm saying, like, I'm not trying to say him literally. I get what he's saying literally. I'm saying, like, I don't know what that lifestyle, like, I don't know what that lifestyle that he's going through is. So I wouldn't know the feeling of not having that.
Right.
Like, I've never been on welfare, so I don't know what it feels like to hope and want to not be on welfare.
Because, like, aside from that one line, I think it's very part of our reality today.
Meh.
Well, I've never been to court on trial, so I wouldn't have to think about not going to court with no trial. It's more just the literal thing of the actual feeling of not having to worry about these things. I wouldn't know how that feels. I've never really been that I mean, besides smoking, that's the only thing.
Okay.
So, other than that, the song itself, I mean, it's really great. Lauryn Hill did amazing on this. But there wasn't just much for me to really quote from it, but I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I found it to be very polished compared to the other tracks. The beat itself sounded more mixed properly. It sounded louder. Lauryn Hill's voice wasn't like mashed up or nothing like that. It was very clear, crisp. Everything was great about this. Great way to finish the album, especially after seeing like all the tragedies and all the pain that Nas has brought you through on this album. To see his vision of wanting happiness and positivity is just great.
Yeah.
4.5.
Yeah, I think that this was, exactly that. I think it was great. I think he's kind of said like all of these like horrible things like on like the, on the rest of the tracks, and then at the end he's kind of like, imagine if this world didn't exist. Like everything I've just told you, imagine like if it wasn't like that. Imagine if like everybody just got along and these people felt free and there wasn't this ghetto, like imagine that. Like it's like so like inconceivable to them that like they would just have to imagine it because it's not like a reality that they can like understand. And of course, Lauryn Hill, amazing on this song, on the hook. And they just kind of want black people to be free and that their plight isn't their fault, like they were brought here. And so this is like, this is like circumstantial. It just keeps going, and it's just going to carry on through generations. And like, just kind of talking about that kind of stuff. And Nas feels kind of like a powerful leader or wants to be like a powerful leader, kind of like speaking for his people and kind of being like a Black Panther, kind of strong, like, black, powerful, leader force, right? And, he just wants to like help out his people and like, yeah, he just wants to be unlike the powers that are in existence at this time and that are like kind of like pushing them down. He wants to help like to raise them up and be better and, just be more about love and understanding and less about like hate and anger and like trying to like keep someone down and like, all these bad things that just keep happening in the hood. So it was just like he's just kind of like imagining and wishing that, maybe one day we can escape all of this and things will be better. Like that's just kind of what he's saying. So I thought it was a great song, a great message, and two fantastic and amazing artists coming together. And just, yeah, it's just great. I love it. 5 on 5, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, the first two verses are really speculative and in that same vein. So, like, he's just got a lot of lines where he's kind of, but it's not just like, imagine all the things he's imagining loosely. It's all tied into the reality he's in. Like, the world's hot, my son got knocked evidently, it's elementary, they all want us gone eventually. Trooping out of state for a plate of knowledge. If Coke was cooked without the garbage, we'd all have the top dollars. And what I liked about that is it almost implies like if we all had good business sense on how we did this shit, on top of the fact that if it wasn't for all the bad stuff in the Coke, Coke, blah, 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 crack and all that shit. Or political prisoner set free, stress fee, no work release, purple M3s and jet skis, feel the breeze in the West Indies. I make the Coretta Scott King mayor to cities in reverse, fiends to willies. It sound foul, but every girl I meet go downtown. I'd open every cell in Attica, send him to Africa. That would be interesting. Imagine just taking all the prisoners out and sending them back to Attica's a prison, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Sending them right back to Africa. And, like, just, that would be such a cool thing to see. All these people trapped and locked up and everything. I don't know. Well, really, like, my favorite is the way the third verse starts. And he's like, you'd love to hear the story, how the thugs live in worry, duck down in car seat, heat's mandatory, running from Jake. I know what that means. It's a cop. Getting chased, hunger for papes. These are the breaks. Many mistakes go down out of state. Wait, I had to let it marinate. We carry weight, and then it kind of goes on from there. And it's just like, you really like, all of that is, we love to hear when that happens. Is interesting to me in that whole part. So it's a cool concept song, picturing this utopia that things are a little bit better than they are. And it really is the most fitting way to end this kind of album. It's also like the poppest song on here. So it's a good thing that I think it was left at the end. I know he's taken a bunch of heat for writing pop music. I don't really find it super pop. It's just the pop is song. So it's got some cross appeal, which isn't a problem.
It's just like it could be a mainstream song because it just sounds so good. And
because Lauren's there. But I give it a 5. The beat's really well done. It's definitely one of like a clear attempt to make a great single. and it achieved just that. I don't really care about either of the videos on this album that I saw. So anyway, if we want to wrap up, I guess just a little bit. I know Bonnie's eager to go watch some Oscars. This album was pretty cool. I liked it a little bit less than Illmatic, but it's also significantly a little bit longer than Illmatic. So you got more taking into equation. I gave it a 4.346. A few of them, the beats just didn't do it for me, especially that Dr. Dre track. Lyrically, it just felt... My biggest feeling was... I don't know how much I want to hear Nas talk about the mafioso lifestyle quite like he does, to the extent that he does.
Yeah.
Every now and again it's cool, but I really loved being in Nas's mind in Illmatic. And I feel like this was a little more of seeing Nas's world a little more, but I wasn't in his mind like I was on the entire way through. And I felt that was a little bit taking away from it. He's a lyrical genius. There's no doubt about that. There are many great songs on this album.
Yeah.
But it's just... It's a classic, but compared to Illmatic, it's less of a classic.
Yep, that's fair. I mean, I'm similar thinking here. I gave it a 4.05, so that's like an 81%. It isn't as strong as Illmatic, as far as I'm concerned. It is sort of him, like, he's more established, he's more mature at this point, and he's a little bit more sure of himself. He's still living like that street life, but it's less juvenile and less sort of like an innocent. Like, there was more innocence and like rawness, and he was like, oh shit, like he's like experiencing like this stuff for the first time with Illmatic, and like this time he's a little bit more aware of what's going on, and he's kind of seeing the world and how things function a little bit more, and he's been hurt, I think, a little bit more as well, and I think that kind of reflects in this album. So yeah, I mean, that's my opinion.
So the album for me standed at a 3.9. It's almost at the Classic Quest rating. The only reason why I think it made the 3.9 is just because of the lack of energy that I felt that I didn't feel on this album. There's a lot of songs that, look, lyrically, the man's fucking genius. The guy has, Nas has certain ways of depicting messages and giving us this imagery from the words he uses, but I feel like a lot of songs on this album are lacking in energy, are lacking in this sort of hype that I found on Illmatic. So that would really be it. Other than that, across the board, I mean, he's lyrically talented. Everybody did well. Lauryn Hill did well. Affirmative.
There's a lot more features on this one too.
The Firm, they're all. Foxy Brown is good. Cormega is good. Dre.
Well, Dre talked and produced.
Dre spoke and
he produced one.
Everybody across the album did super well and super great. It's just I think that what Holden was saying with that groove feel, I think that's where I kind of just got lost. It was to keep you in that mode, not really elevate or change you or anywhere.
Okay.
Sure. Anyway, let us know what you thought in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate your opinions and all that. How did you feel about It Was Written? If you were around when it came out, how was the landscape? How did this album impact things? I don't know. We just start the little discussion because that's what's cool, is to see that happening in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for being with us. We'll be back next week with a whole other album review.
Thank you, guys.
Until then, peace.
Bye.